Alright, here we are. I'm Fix-It-All Paul, and this is going to be a follow-up video on the issue with the alternator. In the last video, we, am I zoomed out here? I guess I am. We took the regulator diode assembly off of that alternator, which does not go in my car, and we put, we looked at it, and it looks good. We like the way that all looks. So despite the rain, I went outside and grabbed this alternator, and if you look at the two alternators side by side, you can see that the double ears here on this side, but the double ears are there on that side, and everything else is relatively the same. You can see by looking at the casings, you can tell by this. But this is what I meant. This is a fairly new alternator, probably rebuilt. There's obviously something wrong going on inside there, and we are going to take this cover off just like we did earlier and see if we can't figure out exactly what's going on inside this thing, because obviously it does not work properly. So let me change the view here a little. We'll go up and get back into this, just like we did the one this morning. And we'll pull out what we need for socket here to. Of course, I don't remember exactly which socket I used, and I threw everything back in the box here. I think it was, no, it wasn't that one either. No, it's not 10. I think it's an 8mm. Here we go, 8mm right there. So, let's see if we can't get you more centered here so you can see. This one should come apart a little easier than the one this morning, because this one's not all old and messed up. Everything should be reasonably free. Yeah, the belt has been squealing on this one. I found that the adjuster was not uptight. I suspect it's been like that since I bought the car, and it's just been by chance that it hasn't been a real big problem. Sometimes you get lucky that way. Which one of these was this? Was this one? That was that one. There we go. Snap that on there. Give it a spin. That all off. See, I like this tool because the handle slides, so you can use it either with a decent leverage or if you need to have a nice even twist. It's a pretty nice little, I guess you'd call it a mini breaker bar. Again, remember from this morning, this is where the battery connects on, and that is 10mm. I also have this sort of more traditional breaker bar style. I do have a 1/4" ratchet somewhere. It's in with a bunch of stuff, I don't know. Ultimately, I have all the tools I need basically in the trunk of the car, and then a whole bunch more basically in the garage. And just like this morning, this has got the cutout so the cover can come off. We didn't have to leverage that at all. In this case, we remember this morning there was that little rubber cover that went over the brushes. This one kind of stuck to the inside. We'll put it back up on here where it belongs. This is definitely a rebuilt alternator. There's no question about that. Now what we're going to find in here, again, I was tapping on this cover and that light was coming on and off. Now, one of the things I want to look at, I look inside the connector here. I don't see any sign of corrosion or anything funny going on in there, which is good. You don't want to have funny stuff going on in there. But let's see if we can, why is that missing? Oh, that's the screw. Okay. Just a little confusion on my part. Now let's take that screwdriver bit with the 1/4" socket and undo these, same as we did on the other one. So these came off pretty easy. So now I can take the Phillips screwdriver, just back those all out. One of the things I did with all the screws from the other one is I put them back where they came out of, even though I didn't put the unit back together. It's an easy way to remember where things go. Sometimes you just put screws back in holes, and even though it's a little bit of work to take them back out again when you go to put something together, at least it helps you remember where things go. And the big thing I found about doing things like this is you never know when life is going to suddenly interrupt you. And the next thing you know, it's a couple of weeks later and you haven't gotten around to finishing the project. So, what else did we take out of here to get that off? Did not take any of those. We took those two off. Took this one. Again, a lot of what I'm doing here is just visually looking at things to see if there's anything that looks like it's out of place, out of whack, something not right. So far I don't see anything. But we will get into this and see what we find. Just like this morning, I'm going to hold that brush in place. The second brush. Most brushes do look like they have plenty of meat on them. This doesn't have anywhere near the wear that the other one has. It does look like this armature in here is new. I don't see anything wrong here. We can take these rubber things off. You see this rubber thing? Take that off. Maybe get you a little closer, so you can see what we're looking at. What we've got here is, come on, let's zoom this in here. It's just a lug that's been soldered on. And there's a rubber that goes over it, that slides down in here. There's an insulator. We'll take each of those off and look at them. Do they look like they're actually soldered? Those are nice and tight. I like the look of those. Go around one at a time, check them. Yeah, those were all nice. Very good. And all those screws, when I took them off, were all nice and tight. Want to make sure we got those seated down in there the way they're supposed to, all the way. There we go. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just an insulator. But I don't see a problem with any of these. Look at all of them. Yeah, no, these are all soldered nice. So our problem is probably not with this part of the unit. I suspect we're going to find our problem in here somewhere. You'll recall this morning, pull a little bit of light over here, that we were looking at these connections here and here. So we're going to play with those a little bit, make sure they look tight. In fact, I'm going to put a magnifier on so I get a better look at this. Yeah, I got one of these headband magnifiers. They're pretty handy. I think I got it at Harbor Freight. And those do all look like they're on there tight. Coating isn't all complete on them. I think this part of it was probably part of the rebuild that was reused. And you can see a bit of a difference between the two of them. You know, this one, which is the one from this morning, it's all dirty. It's hard to really see the connections here. They're a little rusty. This one, though, connections are nice and clean. They look pretty good, I think. I'll check. I'm actually hoping to find something that doesn't seem quite right. Well, I see one thing that doesn't look right in there. We've got, I don't know if you can see this or not if I backlight it. Yeah, not really. There's an insect, a dead insect in there. And he doesn't belong in there. See that? Dead bug. He don't belong in there. We're debugging the unit. I wanted to look at these two. Both of these here to see that they do look the same. I mean, just because they look the same doesn't mean they're actually the same thing. I don't see any corresponding numbers on these that I can match up. Again, I think everything here basically works, but something is loose that needs to be reconnected. And I don't quite know what it is because I've looked at, you know, a pair there, there's a pair here and a pair here. There's a pair here, but there's nothing attached to them, which is, you know, same as on the other one. But I don't see anything super suspect. Then we'll look with the magnifier, see if we see anything at all that looks like it's not attached properly. Like I said, if necessary, I will take the one part and put it into the other alternator. I really expected to see something here. I'm kind of surprised that I didn't. But you know, sometimes you take something apart and you put it back together and voila, everything seems happy. This is the main stud for the battery. I don't see anything wrong with that. Yeah, I really don't see anything here that looks suspicious to me. But what we do have is 3 more screws here. We'll check those, make sure they're tight. And we'll do that by, get you in on the view here. Do that by actually, I'm going to actually take this thing off of here. Give it a better look. Maybe there's crud underneath the screws. Maybe something's rusty under there. You never know what you find. I've never seen this entire assembly available for sale, but what I have seen for sale is just the voltage regulator itself, which is just this part. This is the diode plate, which is actually a rectifier. I believe it's a full bridge rectifier, full wave rectifier. I'm not sure exactly the terminology. Now you can see these are a little bit dirty. Before we put them together, I'll just take a screwdriver blade and just scuff them a little bit. Make them a little cleaner than they are. Those brushes have plenty of meat. They still got spring left in them. And I didn't notice that on the other one. Maybe because I couldn't really see it on the other. No, I don't see that on the other one. These two solder joints here. Give that a magnified view. See if that looks alright. Because something in here isn't right. We just don't know what. A little bit of a solder flux left over on the top there. Yeah, this looks okay. I don't see an issue with this. Other than the fact that, you know, like I said, these connections are a little dirty, but I wouldn't expect these to be enough dirt to interfere with anything. But nonetheless, just as good measure, we will, yeah, I think what it is this metal tab sticks up through here and then it attaches to the wire from the brush. Sometimes when you take things apart, you'll see like a little yellow dot. That's either like an inspection dot. Sometimes it indicates that something's been rebuilt. Again, I'm not seeing anything here that looks too oddball. But, you know, we will scrape these contacts up. So when we put it together, at least it's a little better than it was before. And sometimes, like I said, you just take things apart. You clean whatever you think might not be quite right. And you never really do find exactly what's wrong with the unit. Now I could take a... Could I take a meter and go across those? I suppose I could take a meter and go across those diodes. I'm not sure that's really necessary. We may just throw this back together. And I suspect if anything's not good, it would be this unit here. But usually this is part of what gets replaced during a rebuild. So I'm not sure what is up with that. Still see a little bit of moisture in here from being outside, because it is raining out. Wish I knew more about what was underneath here. If I did, then I might be able to maybe ohm something out with a meter or something, but I'm not seeing. I mean, like I said, they look the same, but whether they're electrically exactly the same, because being one's from a slightly later model, it might be a higher ampage, and I don't know whether that's just because of the diode assembly or whether it's just because of the regulator. I think it would be the regulator, but like I said, I'm seeing numbers on here and here, but I'm not seeing anything that would lead me to any grand conclusions. So I think what we're going to do is we will put this back together, clean off these contacts with things screwed down just a little bit, just to make them a little brighter than they were, I guess. And hope that when we put this all back together, maybe we're just a little bit better off than we were before. So, you know, it's always trickier figuring out how to put it back together, isn't it? Let's see here. We got this. Goes where and where? Well, we've got this in here, and we've got... How the heck does this go? See, this is one of the things you got to pay attention to what you're doing when you're taking it apart, because here we go, like that. This goes down in here, something like this. Here we go, just like that. All right, or is it just like that? It's just like that. There we go. Put the screws back in. I realize this video is probably getting pretty boring at this point. Not a lot going on, but it is what it is. side. You know, people ask me, how do I know about all of this sort of stuff? Well, it's because I dared to venture in and take crap apart. Sometimes you just gotta dig in, and you know, maybe the first couple times I did this, I didn't recognize anything going on in here. But that's how you learn about this stuff. You take stuff apart. Yeah, that's back together. And I'm not seeing anything wrong with the top of here. That all looks pretty nice and clean and smooth. I wouldn't think there's an issue there to be concerned about. Is that a rubber piece? Let's see here. We got a hook on over here. Okay, maybe we need to back up a little bit and maybe. Now, when we go back on, of course, those brushes are sticking out, so I'll have to push those in once I line up where everything's going here. I'll have to push those in order to slide this back down again. Come on, get on there. I'm pushing that bottom brush. I'm pushing that top brush. Drop that back down on. And a little rubber cover goes on here just to keep dust, I guess, out or whatever. And then we will turn nice and tight. Again, you don't want to strip them, but you do want to make sure that they're pretty snug, because you don't want anything. I tightened these up. These are good and snug. Yeah, we'll just double check them anyways, right? Just to be thorough. There we go. Put that dust cover back on there. Is that how that goes? That is how that goes. Just like that. All right. Now we'll take and put our cover back on. Put that tab back on. Put that tab back on there. It's getting long and boring. Geez, we're almost half an hour now already. Put that back in there. It belongs in like that. The 10mm. This is that battery post piece. Tighten him up. So it's Halloween. It is pouring rain here. I believe they've basically called off Halloween. I think they're going to do it on Saturday night. I don't really know. I talked to somebody somewhere else. Place I used to live down in New Hampshire. They called it off. It's pouring rain there too. I'm up in Maine. Tighten that down. And hopefully this does the trick, that just maybe taking it apart, moving everything around, retightening everything is all that this thing needs. Get it back in the car, make sure that belt is tight so it consistently charges. Is this the one? That's the one. And when I talked about this earlier, I talked about maybe just taking this cover off on the vehicle and taking that plate out and replacing the regulator, but there's not enough room to move around in there. So that wasn't going to really happen. But there it is, back together, ready to go back in the car. Unfortunately, there's no numbers I can read on here. There's some numbers stamped here. I can't really read those either. This tag is, as you can tell, oh, look at this. Remanufactured in Mexico. Somebody else put their tag on top of it. I don't know if 1015 is a part number or if that was when it was done. But anyways, it is what it is. It does turn the way it should. 96 Corolla alternator. Parting back together again. And with any luck, when we put this in the car, it'll run. And that battery light will never come on again. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, I know this was a little long. Oh well.